Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this month's Main Street Collective, where we are going to be talking about bridging the gap between in-person and online experiences. And today our featured guest is Charlie Birch of Third Eye Web Strategies. And just as kind of a general reminder, if you're new to the Beyond Main Street Collective calls and what we do, we're a cooperative technology platform that's looking to connect community and commerce. We focus on utilizing technology to help you support small business, online adoption, as well as economic development and revitalization, and creating hyper-local marketplaces for the cities that we live and we love. So if you're interested in learning more, you can apply to sell or join and shop local on beyondmain.com. You can also connect with me directly at kate@beyondmain.com and would love to learn more about how you'd like to get involved with our lovely platform. So why are we all here today? Well, for a few reasons. We like to gather as a group, one, to connect and feel like fostering connection, collaboration, and learning from each other's insights is very valuable, especially in the small business networks. We want to share our learnings and knowledge and opportunities that exist out there. And we really want to collectively work together to help shape the future of our communities and our local economies. And so that's really the purpose of why we host these Main Street Collective calls, as well as gather as a group to hopefully pass on our knowledge and insights, but also hear yours as well and grow as a group. So our agendas are, we always meet at the second Tuesday of each month on Zoom. Calls are recorded and put onto our YouTube channel, so you can always go back and access them. We also will make blog posts out of them. So if you're more of a reader than a listener, you can always read some of the tips and tricks that our expert speakers share with us. We'll usually look at some of the macro or micro trends that are noteworthy and kind of influencing the environment we're all living within and trying to operate businesses and programming. We'll give some Beyond Main insights and updates. Of course, we have fabulous guest speakers, and we always finish with a Q&A opportunity. So just a few updates on our Beyond Main side. So we do have our Shopify Sync app that is live and ready to go. You can find it on the Shopify App Store. And it's very simple to connect your business and start representing your goods and services on our localized marketplace. If you need assistance with this, we can help you connect your shop. Just email me at kate@beyondmain, your Shopify URL, and we can help you get you all set up. The Main Street Online tool is also a great assessment and consultative results kind of oriented tool that our Main Street directors have been loving, our small business development centers have been loving. So if that's your role, please check it out because it is available in English and Spanish now. So we hope that we can help service more businesses across, different language barriers in adopting software tools that can help drive their business. And really excited to report as our Main Street community, I'll share it here with you first, but we will be making bigger and broader announcements. We are expanding. We are going to be launching in South Carolina later this year. So if you know any South Carolina businesses or communities and directors, we're going to be working with their state organizations to help launch a Shop South Carolina focused marketplace. So very excited to announce that. And you guys get to hear it first. And finally, we have a TikTok challenge that's going on. So send us your reels, your TikTok videos, and we're sharing them all over our social accounts to kind of highlight small businesses and fun and interesting things that are going on behind the scenes as well as in stores. So kind of to kick us off on our theme for today, this word buzzes around, right, the industry a lot, and it's omni-channel, right? And sometimes people kind of look at, me with like a crooked face and they're like, what's that? But really all that omni-channel retail is that word is trying to convey is that it's a business model in which you are trying to completely integrate, a seamless customer journey across all of your shopping experiences. So that is in-store, online, mobile device, desktop, really anywhere that you would touch a customer, you're trying to create a connected experience, right? That you can control and you can like float through, consumers could flow through, right? Because we are multi-channel experience users and multi-channel shoppers. So this is kind of a part of the new age of retail, right? Where it was traditionally you open a brick and mortar, right? You operate out of those four walls. Well, now it's sort of kind of migrated into this multi hub and spoke approach, right? So omni-channel, don't ever let that word intimidate you. It just means like, how are you integrating all of your touch points of your business? A really great example of an omni-channel, like in practice, is Starbucks loyalty rewards program. So while they run their rewards program through a mobile device app, right? Customers really have a lot of access points in how they experience their brand through that app. So that you can use it in store to pay for your drinks. You can, add money from multiple different sources. You can, experience it on web form, as well as it's integrated to in-store experiences, right? So connecting inventory is a really key thing there. And the omni impact, this is where really the true benefits of kind of adopting omni approach start to take hold. And really it's becoming the expectation of consumers today as, generations age, and we're seeing like more of these connected user groups that just don't know another world outside of, having a smartphone device at their fingertips. Omni-channel shoppers have a 30% higher lifetime value than those just shopping on a single channel. So there is ways to kind of extract like lifetime value out of adopting these types of approaches and systems. 71% of shoppers stated that they're using a smartphone while they're shopping in store, which I know everyone here has experienced before, like showrooming, right? Or you're in a retailer yourself as a consumer and you're like, let me see where else I might find this. Is there better values out there? What other options and colors or sizes like might exist that I can access, right? So it is becoming a tool for search and discovery as well as shopping. And then 50% of consumers expect they'll be able to buy online and pick up in store. 50%. I can tell you that number in 2016, when we first started, was like in the single digits. and from then until now, it has grown to 50%. And it's not going backwards. This is just something that's going to become a table stakes, and utilizing systems that can support your in-store for this mechanism of fulfillment is going to be very, very important going forward into the future of building your retail and online business. And finally, 45% of consumers state that they expect in-store sales associates to know about online products and offerings. So this is also where, omni-channel can sometimes get a little tricky in terms of communications. And so it's really important that you have staff that's working for you, and maybe they're siloed into specific retail or online categories, that they understand how they work together and what can be accessed in store versus what can be only accessed online, and vice versa, right? So with that, fun omni facts, I wanted to introduce Charlie Birch. She is the Brick Plus Click Chick. I love this tagline so much. I'm the founder of Third Eye Web Strategies, and she's going to share with us today bridging the gap between in-person and online, some of her tips and tricks and knowledge behind how you can effectively do this. So Charlie, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
All right. Hello, everyone. Super excited to be here. Let me get my talking points up, because if I don't, then we're all going to go on some crazy roller coaster through my mind, and it might be fun, but I want to make sure we actually talk about the things that I told you we would talk about. So let me just get this set up here. Did you know that you can crop your Zoom screen? Can you see my screen? Okay, cool. So today I want to talk to you about bridging the gap between in-person and online. And I want to give you a little bit of background about how I got to be doing this work and some of my belief systems that support it, because I think that is a really important part of getting your mindset screwed on right to be successful in this particular time in our history. So we're going to look at some tips for creating high-touch customer experiences everywhere and why you must. But before we do that, I want to address the elephant in the room of my life because I tell my colleagues that are, I have my colleagues in the Main Street world that consult in this space. And then I have my fellow website designers and digital marketers. And when I tell people that I work in the mom and pop world, in the Main Street world with brick and mortar businesses, and I do website design, they're like, what? Like, first of all, isn't that kind of like a dying model? And, with the rise of big business, with the rise of big box stores and e-commerce, it's really easy to swallow that Kool-Aid and think, yes, the time of mom and pop is behind us and we should just all get on board with this new version of the marketplace. But I really wholeheartedly disagree. And I want to talk a little bit about why. So I truly believe that our society needs small and physically located businesses like our mom and pop shops, like our Main Street businesses, to help keep our communities healthy and thriving, not just from an economic perspective, but from a cultural and emotional perspective as well. If we look at some of the statistics around the population of people that make up our communities, we can see pretty clearly that about 75% of people are extroverted. And despite popular opinion, which is that extroversion is about being outgoing, extroversion is actually about where you recharge your batteries. So people who are extroverted really have a biological need to be in community and to be in relationship in order to stay charged, in order to access their vitality. And if they don't have places to go and people to do things with, then we're really all going to be in big trouble, right? And so more on a collective level, I think it's really important to remember that the thing that attracts residents and visitors to a community is the character of the community. And it's also really important to remember that character can't be outsourced. That means that it must be homegrown, and that means that small businesses have a huge part to play in making sure that their communities have the type of character that's going to attract and retain the people who are going to bring it to life, right? And so I am a big advocate of supporting small businesses, not only as an economic strategy, but as a placemaking strategy, as a community development strategy. And so I just want to make sure that that is clearly coming across as part of my philosophy, and hopefully if it's not already part of yours, maybe you get on board with me with that. However, I do want to acknowledge that the struggle for small business owners right now is real. It was real before COVID. It's very real during the peak of COVID, and it's going to continue to be a big challenge as we acclimate to the changing dynamics in the marketplace. And it's made more of a struggle by the fact that there really aren't a lot of marketing professionals who are savvy in the digital realm lining up to help mom and pop businesses, because they are more concerned, of course, as they should be, with their bottom line and securing the contracts and clients that are really going to keep their business viable. And in my experience, there's a lot of it's really more appropriate for small businesses to run their own marketing campaigns. However, when you start Googling about like how to do my website, how to do this, a lot of the gurus that are out there that are talking about online business are really talking to online business owners. And there's not really a lot of people that are talking about how to help a physically located brick and mortar business leverage the power of the internet to drive foot traffic, or to streamline their sales, or to expand their revenue channels. Those types of strategies that are going to be appropriate for this type of business and this type of community are not the type of thing that are readily available on the internet. And so people end up implementing the wrong strategies for their business, getting really frustrated, getting a chip on their shoulder, deciding, you know what, this isn't for me. And then where does that leave everybody? And I saw this problem and I thought that really is a bummer, because I want those businesses in my community. And in a position to help. So I really dedicated my career to helping small businesses that do want to have a physical presence in their community, understand what makes them unique, and figure out how to communicate that online, if not only just to communicate it and sometimes to sell it. And recently I have become very interested in the brick and click model for businesses, which is why I am now going by brick and click chick, which I have to practice saying because sometimes I switch the click and chick part and it gets all jumbled in my mouth. But I want to talk to you about that here today. So let's go ahead and dive in. And I really want to draw your attention to the fact that I am talking about brick and click and not just e-commerce, right? One of the things that I see is that a lot of business owners in the brick and mortar space think that the strategy for their website is either a static billboard that's just like information only, or they think, oh, I have to just have this totally separate business where I'm doing e-commerce. And a brick and click business model is really about creating, like Kate said, more of a seamless interaction between your physical real estate and your digital real estate. And then more importantly, your physical experience and your digital experience that you're rolling out, and that those things are going to constantly be feeding each other, right? So I also want to say, for the people who are like, nah, that's all really nice, that sounds really great, but people are buying online, people are buying online, people are buying online. The consumer reports are starting to show a reemergence of people coming out in person. So we have statistics like in-person retail sales are up 22% in the last year, and in-restaurant dining is up more than 100%. And so I really want to reinforce the idea that right now is a super powerful time for you to recommit to making your small business relevant to today's consumers, both online and in person, right? This is a very juicy time period to commit to this business model. And in order to do that successfully, we really need to understand the motivation for why people shop online versus why they shop in person. And as a society, my observation is that we seem to get that people shop online for the convenience factor. They see, and why we seek out convenience. We seek out convenience when we think that we seek out the convenience of shopping online when we think that the alternative of shopping in person is going to be a negative experience, whether that's a drain on our energy, a logistical nightmare, right? These are the things that we use convenience to try to avoid an alternative, which is inconvenience. But we also need to understand, and we seem to forget, that convenience is not the only desire that makes up the human experience, right? So people are starting to break free. That's what these statistics are showing us, that people are dining in person again, they're shopping in person again, and that they are doing that because they want something else besides just convenience. And what we're finding in the reporting is that most people, when they're asked, why do you shop in person versus online, are reporting things like satisfaction. They find the experience of shopping in person more satisfying. They might find the experience of shopping online more convenient, but the experience of shopping online is more satisfying. And so it's really important to understand that satisfaction is about fulfilling a desire, and that convenience is often about avoiding something that we anticipate to be undesirable, right? And that we need both of those things in our life. And it's also important, I think, to remember that satisfaction is a sensory word, right? Convenience is something that we think about with our brains, like, oh, that's going to be more convenient. But when we do things because we want to be satisfied with them, we're willing to do them in maybe illogical or not super cognitive ways, right? And so really what this is saying is that when people choose to shop in person with you, they're doing it because of the way it makes them feel. And if you're not making them feel good, they're not going to do it. And so this is really the crux of the high touch in-person business model. And then the convenience factor, making sure that you're giving them that full experience. And it is another statistic that I really love is that 88% of all purchase journeys begin online. And we see that, and it's really easy to think they happen online, but it's really important to understand that even if you have a super juicy, high touch customer experience that is going to bring people back into relationship to you over and over again, if they can't find you online and have an experience online that echoes that in some way, shape, or form, that you might not hook them in the first place. So if you have a successful brick and mortar business, you have a customer base that's the size you want, you have a revenue pool that's the size you want, and you don't want to mess around with the internet, like that's cool. But if you're struggling and you can look at your in-person experience and you're like, this is a 10, and you can look at your online experience and it's anything less than a 10, then you have some work to do to close that gap, right? And so I want to talk about a little bit how to do that. But this is why I'm really, really excited, is that the brick and click business model is really going to give business owners the opportunity to satisfy people's desire for satisfaction and also their desire for convenience. And that gives us an ability to grow and sustain in a much more powerful way than just having one of those channels. Like Kate was talking about, this omni-channel is really important for that holistic full picture, right? And so bridging the gap between the online experience. Uh-oh, am I frozen? No, I'm back. Okay. Bridging the gap between the online and the in-person experience is really not rocket science. But as one of my mentors often said, common sense and common practice often don't hang out together. Right? So bridging the gap is really about being consistent and strategic and making sure that your two primary pieces of real estate, your two primary customer service tools, your online and your offline, are interrelated and high touch, right? And we're going to talk about what I think is one really high level concept that you need to understand in order to do this successfully. I'm not going to give you like, do A, B, C, D, and E exactly in your business, because every business is unique. I hope you see that your business is unique and you know that a one size fits all solution isn't going to work for you, because if you don't, then like that's the homework to do, like go figure out how you're unique. What we need to do here is some mindset shifting around your approach to how you show up in relationship with your customers. And then really what it is that you should be focusing on communicating, right? So the first thing that I want to talk about is the mindset shift. And I say shift because this is not just about one individual person. This is kind of a transition where business used to happen one way and now it needs to happen another way. So we're really shifting as a society from a transactional business model into an experiential business model, right? And so I want to talk about the differences between these two things. The transactional businesses are really focused first and foremost on transactions. They are low touch. They will sacrifice opportunities to bond with their customers to enhance efficiency, to save money. They are not really looking at the sensory experience, and they're really just ultimately selling stuff to consumers, right? That language is very devoid of emotion. Whereas an experiential business, on the other hand, is a high touch. It uses strategies like branding. It uses strategies like storytelling. It uses sensory activation strategies. It uses events. It uses service and product pairing. And these businesses are not just selling stuff. They're curating experiences around the stuff that they sell. They're curating experience for humans, right? This is about the human to human, not the plastic to plastic swiping and exchanging. This is about the human to human. And that's what's really going to be the thing that makes you viable as a physically located business, as a small business, because if you do that well, Nobody will ever be able to replicate that. It's one of a kind, right? And it's also what's going to allow you to charge those premium prices and thrive more and struggle less. So I know that I did offer in the title, at least that I sent to Kate, a few tips. And so I want to offer those now. But before I do that, I want to just kind of sum up, right? This idea, why small businesses are so important. They are important to our economy and but more importantly, they're important to our humanity, right? If we don't nurture them, if we don't participate with them, whether we're the owner or the consumer or the, community leader, I personally think that's really, really terrifying. Really terrifying world. I don't want to raise my son in the world where there's nowhere to go and there's nowhere to be with and there's no gathering spaces, right? People want to shop online and in person. And so if they're not shopping with you in person, it's not just Amazon's fault. And like, I'm not gonna, wave the finger and blame the victim is not my intention, but we are all responsible for the success of our own businesses. And we always have to be relooking at, am I giving people what they want? And I think we've kind of, as a community, the small business community, the brick and mortar, the Main Street community, we have fallen a little bit victim to drinking the Kool-Aid that says, the world telling us we don't have value and we need to advocate for our own value, but we need to understand what that value is. And I'm of the opinion that the value is the relationships, the culture, the connection, the experience. And so that's where these tips are coming from. And it's kind of a branding conversation, but not branding in terms of like, oh, make sure you have a great copywriter and, oh, make sure you have a cool logo. No. This is like brand strategy at its deepest, rawest state. Okay. So I want you to always be asking yourself the question of, what am I doing to make people feel they belong in relationship to my business? When we're talking about community here, we're talking about creating experiences for people to engage with, whether they're online or offline. And so we need to really understand what an experience is. An experience is a distinct moment in time, hopefully a positively memorable one, that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so it's really important to start thinking about, because you already know what you sell, like on a tangible level, right? But it's really important to start thinking about how you can create experiences around the things you sell that either enhance the way that people experience you online or can't be purchased online, that draw them into relationship with your business, right? Online on-site events are a great example of this. Service product pairings, for example, maybe you have an apothecary. So maybe you offer a custom in-person consultation where you do an assessment of people's, state of being, and you offer them custom personal product combinations that, like, you could offer a quiz on your website, right? But like, it's not ever going to be the same as sitting down one-on-one with a person over a nice cup of chai, right? You could offer personal styling services in your retail location. You could offer cooking classes during some of your slower hours at your restaurant to like help people learn how to cook one of your signature dishes. And then you're like, ooh, but then they won't come to my restaurant and eat the signature dish. Yes, they will, because they will thoroughly appreciate more how hard it is to make the dish and how nice it is to just eat the dish and to not have to make the dish. They will appreciate it more than they did before, right? So check yourself when you have fear around giving your knowledge away as a service. If someone starts to experience your business the second they walk in the door, what are you doing to guide them through your space? Are you doing that with design? Are you doing that with conversation? Are you doing that with an experience arc? Like restaurants, yoga studios, salons, they're all in a really great position to do this very inherently and might already be doing it, but do it on purpose, do it intentionally, do it mindfully, and you'll find that it's even more powerful. Because when we create experiences for people to engage with, we start to activate the nervous system in a different way. And we also really are starting to nurture that feeling of belonging, which people crave on a deep primal level. So this is really a question about, how does your business do community? How does your business grow community? Because people can't have community delivered to their house. They just can't. And so maybe they have accessories or, amenities around their belonging in your community that they want to buy online. But if you want to bring them in person, you need to give them community to belong to. And you need to help them feel seen, right? If you can make your customers feel seen, heard, and valued, they will always come, because people are starving for that. Like, we all are just scrolling through our Instagram day after day, wondering if anybody cares about our picture that we posted. Make them know you care. You have to actually care. The next thing I really think is important to remember, which I notice getting lost a lot, is that we tend to really focus on the cognitive parts of the way that people interact with our businesses. And really the much more powerful way to engage our customers is through the activation of the senses: smell, sight, hearing, taste, touch. And so, for example, when we're working with a new client, one of the first things I do is ask them this series of questions. And it's, for some businesses, these questions have literal answers, but for other businesses, like, you have to kind of use your imagination, which I would encourage you to do. So the questions are also about the brand, not the products and services. So that's important to note. So the questions are: what does your brand taste like? What does your brand sound like musically, not from a spoken language perspective? What does your brand feel like? Literally, if you could touch it, if it was a tangible thing, what would the textures be? What would the temperature be? These are all really important things that you want to start thinking about to use to embellish or enhance the experiences, right? What does your brand smell like? What does your brand look like? Not what does your logo look like? Not what does your product look like? But like, what does your brand look like? If I'm an Italian restaurant, like, maybe, yes, I have delicious pasta, but maybe my brand actually looks like that amazing villa that, my customer has been dreaming about buying for years. Or maybe it even looks like the look on my face when I'm chilling on the chair at the amazing villa. Like, go those levels and try to figure out, because that will give you clues about how to build those experiences, and how to activate the types of memories and satisfaction that you want people to have associated with your business, right? The next thing we want to do is tell your story. It never ceases to amaze me so we have a service called our website design audit, where I go through the website and I basically tell people, like, this is what's working and this is what's not working. And if this was my website, this is how I would fix what's not working. And I have never done one of these where I didn't tell people to add an about page. Why don't you have an about page on your website? Tell people your story. In your store, tell people your story. In your restaurant, tell people your story. Your story is your most unique differentiating thing. It humanizes you. It helps people bond with you. It's so easy to tell your story. And so sometimes we forget to do the things that are so easy, but it's so powerful to tell your story. So tell your story as many times as you can. Don't worry about repeating yourself. No one pays nearly as much attention to you as you do to yourself. And then I really want you to look at, what is the aim of your storefront? If you have your big overarching business strategy, your storefront is going to have some strategies, and your website is going to have some strategies. Now, there might be some overlap, and that's okay, but it's important to know, if you're going to have a storefront, why? If you're going to have a website, why? Neither one is solely to process credit card payments. Credit card payments are the honor you get for doing the rest of the stuff right. Okay. So, for example, a storefront strategy might be customer engagement. It might be customer bonding. It might be entertainment or advice. It might be community building. It might be sensory activation, right? If you're doing kind of a showroom effect. Your website strategies might be lead generation. You might be doing storytelling or promotion of specific sales that you want to run. You might be delivering information that people need to engage with your storefront. And you might be delivering convenience. But if you don't have a strategy for why you have a website, you don't have a website worth having. And if you don't have a storefront strategy, then you don't have a storefront worth having. So you need to look at all of these things that we just talked about. What are the experiences I'm offering people? Not the stuff I'm selling, but the experiences. How does it activate their senses and help them get that sense of satisfaction? How is it related to my story? How am I telling a story worth listening to? And how am I going to show that, bring that to life in my storefront and communicate that on my website? And then when you've done those things, you have a brick and click business model worth testing. And then you have to test it, and testing. It's all about testing. So that is what I have for you today. So I hope you enjoyed it. And now I'm going to pause and open for questions if we have any.